What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norrin Radd 89 here, continuing our Final Destination review series. As now we're going to be talking about Final Destination 2, the first sequel in the franchise. And in my opinion, when I talk to fans or I talk to friends or horror community people, most common answer I get is Final Destination 2 as the favorite. There's a lot of big reasons. We're going to discuss, like I said, positives, negatives, rating, and then I'm going to send you all home. So let's do this. Roll it. So trying to capitalize real quick off the success of Final Destination, they really fast worked on Final Destination 2 and released this bad boy. And when it comes to comfortability and in terms of being a film that's closest to the first one, I think Final Destination 2 is where you're going to go. That's why it's most commonly, I think, talked about as the favorite, because it's very similar to the first one. We just kind of have a new cast of characters that we get introduced, like Kimberly, played by A.J. Cook, is our lead in this one, who has our premonition in the beginning of the film. And leading right into positives, I'm going to talk about that, is that I think Final Destination 2, hands down, after rewatching all these films, and even the fifth one, I think Final Destination 2 still has the best intro premonition. When it comes to that highway sequence, the log truck sequence, all of that stuff is expertly shot and expertly executed. Another thing I love about Final Destination 2 is we have returning characters. We have Ali Larter coming back as Clear Rivers, and that's one thing. When she steps into the story, it becomes more interesting for me. I just like her involvement, and I think her as a character, she even just as an actress, she's so much better in this one. Like in Final Destination 2, her character is just so empowering. She has the knowledge, she brings this wisdom to the group and stuff, and when she steps in and she's trying to help the characters from the second film, our leads and everything like that, I think it really is cool. She's a standout in this film. Another thing I really love about Final Destination 2 is the kills. They up the ante in pretty much all the aspects, where I do enjoy the kills in the first film, and there's some of my favorite sequences, but in terms of intensity, in terms of gore and sequences and more kills, Final Destination 2 ups the ante in just about every way in those categories. We are going to be talking about spoilers. I already discussed that too when we did our Final Destination review, the first one, and if you haven't seen that one, I have a card in the top corner somewhere where you can click on that and check out my thoughts on that first film. But in terms of Final Destination 2, props to this one being the only film that I could think of. Like I said, we're talking spoilers. This is the only film so far that I know where our lead character actually figures out a way where she could kind of cheat death when she gets to the end and the third act and stuff. How it happens and what she does, she ends up killing herself, sacrificing herself, and then is brought back to life. So that actually messes up Death's web or Death's plan or whatever and stuff like that. So I think that's a fascinating thing. As far as I can tell, this is the only film that does that, but it does lead into a little bit of a mixed and negative. Let's go right into those right now, is when it comes to that. And I think about that, it upsets me because when I think about Final Destination, the first one, Alex's character does that very same thing. He sacrifices himself for Clear's character when she has the electricity wires are going around on the car, and he has to grab it real quick, and he gets thrown from the car. His heart stops. He dies, and the cops have to resuscitate him. So I don't understand why Death continued with the plan of going after them, especially Carter, when they get to France. Doesn't really make sense unless they describe in one of the other later films that we're going to be talking about, Final Destination 2 people, that they actually die. But as far as we know, they're the only ones that have lived because of the reason of what she does in this movie. Now let's getting more into just negatives. The reason why Final Destination 2 for me just never really met the aspect and the love that I have for that first Final Destination one is just, this one was just a prime example of a idea that encapsulated me and just grabbed me, and I was like, whoa, we have to have more films like this come to get Final Destination 2. And they already start out with those premonitions that I don't like, where it's like the crash zoom on our lead character, you see more images and you just flat out see a vision or the death. And that's different. When I say Final Destination, and I talked about it, I love the way that Alex's premonitions are more, you have to pick up on the intuition and kind of read into it, where the Final Destination 2, it just kicks off right away where we're changing the style of the premonitions. Also, I think the characters in here, even though they do work together as a group, some of them are kind of stupid. Like when they go driving around looking for our pregnant character in this one, because in Final Destination 2, Tony Todd kind of leads into telling our lead characters that if new life is born that wasn't supposed to be born, that would mess up Death's plan as well. So they try to find a character in here that's pregnant, and when they're driving, all these three characters, they have Kimberly driving the car, which is someone who has premonitions and randomly blacks out and sees things, and you're going to have that person driving the car. There's just elements like that I find some of the characters in here to be very, very stupid. Also, my biggest negative I saved for last, and it's going to be Kimberly, played by AJ Cook. I have no really problem with the actress. I can't even off the top of my head right now think of anything else I've seen her in besides Final Destination 2, but as the lead and Kimberly, far cry from how good Alex was, Devon Sawa as Alex. Far difference, far cry. And I don't know if it's the creators of them asking her how to act out the character, what they wanted her to portray on screen, or if it was just AJ Cook's choice of how she wanted to portray Kimberly. I just didn't jive with that character at all. That's why, for me, Final Destination 2, the film, it ramps up and it gets better once we introduce Clear's character, which doesn't take that long, but once she gets involved with the group, that's when I'm much more entertained and involved in caring about these characters. But I still do care about these characters, which is cool. That's one thing I want to discuss as we get more in deep into the later films. Final Destination 1 and Final Destination 2, I enjoy the characters. I like the cast that they pick out, and I care about them. So when stuff is about to happen, I am scared and I'm worried for them, and I want them to survive. But these are just my thoughts and my opinions on Final Destination 2. Please let me know down below in the comments section what are your feelings and your thoughts on this movie. And in terms of a Radd rating from your boy Norrin Radd89, Final Destination 2 is going to get a 7.5 out of 10. It's still a very solid rating, a very great film and a good horror film. It's just, for me, it's a clear-cut, stark difference from how much I love the first Final Destination to my feelings about Final Destination 2, and especially after rewatching them on this most recent rewatch, it's clear cut. For the first film for me is heads and heels above the second film, and that's just, like I said, I listed those negatives, which aren't really big, like I said, besides that major one when it comes to the lead actress, and also how I think the resolution in this film kind of messes up the first film a little bit. But like I said, discuss down below what are your thoughts on this movie. I would love to hear from you all, but please like the video. That definitely helps out the channel. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and have that notification bell on so you're notified anytime I drop a video. But most importantly, I want y'all to have a safe and happy day. Peace out.